everyone, and welcome to another episode of Taco Matta Tuesday, the show where we eat healthy, delicious tacos and have conversations about life. Happiness is a choice, not a result. No person, in fact, nothing, will make you happy unless you decide to be happy on your own. Your happiness will not come to you. It can only come from you. One of the most important quotes that I think that people need to wrap their brains around, and we're going to delve more into that and really unpack it during today's podcast episode. But before we do that, let's go ahead and talk about the taco of the week. Happy late Cinco de Mayo. Hopefully you got out and you had some tacos. Maybe you made some tacos at home. I know that over the weekend I got to have bison serrano tacos. Healthy, delicious, so freaking yummy. And that happens to be the taco recipe for this week. If you like bison, which is one of the leanest meats to have, on top of the fact that it's full of some yummy spices and amazing seasonings, you're going to need to go check out the show notes before you leave the episode today, because it's pretty darn good. Alrighty, we're just jumping right into this. I'm ready to fire on all cylinders here. Let's go back to what inspired the topic for today. And I just want to say to all of the people right now that are going through an absolute shitstorm in life, I see you and I want you to know that you are not alone. I can't say that I'm currently going through a storm. I've actually had, a decent amount of highs since my recent little storm, a week and a half ago. But there's just people in my life that I care about and I love so deeply that are just going through some major crap. And unfortunately, when it rains, I feel like it pours and it doesn't stop pouring for a while. And it's just really put their mindset in a place that is so negative. And quite honestly, it's turned them into acting in ways that are just not them. And they know it. And it's not wrong of them. It is totally understandable. It's just hard. And so today I wanted to dedicate the episode to people that are going through something like that, or for people that are trying to support people that are going through something like that, to help coach them, to be there for them, to create additional understanding, because I know that's the role that I'm currently playing right now in just a couple of different relationships. And so I hope that this episode really resonates and that we can share this amongst one another and really help people get their mind out of the gutter. And no, not that gutter, my friends. The gutter of just toxicity and crap and pure negativity. And speaking of negativity, I need you to know this, because I feel like right now that people that are maybe listening to this that are in that not so great headspace, they feel like they're wrong. They feel like they're failing. And I need you to know that you are not. Not because I want to make you feel all light and fuzzy. It's because I want you to know that this is literally how our brain is designed to work. If we go back to evolutionary days, our brain is literally hardwired to see the negative, to see the fear, to see the things that we need to stay away from in order to survive. And so this is a common mechanism and a habit that we have as human beings that, quite honestly, we didn't have a ton of control over in the first place, right? And I know that there's probably some debates there. I'm not going to go into that. But what I do want to say is that you're not crazy. You are not wrong and you are not failing. This is natural for people to resort to negative thoughts and to think of all of the things that could go wrong before you ever think of all of the things that can and will go right. So it's not your fault. I just want you to take some of that pressure off of you. But I also want to give you some power back in realizing that not only are you not in the wrong, but now you have the power to change it. Just like that quote said, happiness does not come to you. Happiness is truly a choice. And this is your choice, is to take the power back and to do something about it. And that is the first thing that I genuinely want to talk about, is the fact that happiness is a choice. Joy is a choice. This is one of the most important lessons that I've learned. Is I want you to think about it from this perspective, right? Is everything could be going right in your life. You could have the car, you could have the money, you could have the promotion, you could literally have all of your ducks in a row and still be freaking miserable In fact, Tony Robbins talks about how having ultimate success without any sort of joy or happiness is the ultimate failure, right? And he's not wrong. You could have all of these things materialistically from all of the ideals, everything that you idealize for forever, right? And you can still be the most negative and unhappy person in the world. I've seen them, I have met them, I've heard about them, and I definitely am not jealous of their life. And the reason why is because they're so busy chasing other things rather than choosing to be happy, choosing to see and focus on the things in their life that actually matter, right? When it comes down to it, not all of the little random pieces of bullshit. So what I need you to recognize here is that just like you have the power to change it, you have the power to choose joy. You have the power to choose happiness. So one of the best mechanisms that you could potentially do to help offset yourself from getting out of this gutter-like mindset is count the reasons and the things that are going right. Again, if we know that our mind resorts to the negative, can we call ourselves out and say, hey, I see you, and I'm going to validate you that this sucks, that yes, I'm frustrated, that yes, this is totally not ideal, but I'm going to turn the volume on that down for just a second, and instead, I'm going to choose to count the reasons of how many things are going right. So being able to just stop and flip the script for a few seconds, and I know that this sounds simple. It's truly a habit that's hard to build. So you have to practice doing it every single day. And again, this isn't just a call to be optimistic and totally fluffy and high on life all the time. I need to also remind you that you need chances to be sad, because when you are sad and when you are frustrated, trust me, you really appreciate when you are happy. And it's going to show you that black and white contrast that's also going to teach you lessons, right? Of, wow, I'm not in alignment right now. Why am I not in alignment? Take a second to stop and to figure that out, right? Contrast is one of the biggest gifts that you could possibly have, and it's sitting here right in front of you. So that was a lot of different things that I just kind of went over, but I hope something from that resonated in the fact that that happiness is a choice. So make a choice today to start counting the reasons and the things of all the things that went right. It could be the smallest thing, but those smallest things really do matter. And I know that they feel like they don't matter in relation to some of the big things. Like I know what some people are going through and they're nuts. But I'm telling you, sometimes those little small things could just crack a smile, could crack a laugh, right? And just even like if you were to sit here and just smile and laugh right now, it could change your whole perspective. It could change your whole energy and your whole mood. That's all that it takes. So count the reasons and the things as to why things are actually going right and what it is that's actually going right in the middle of the chaos, okay? The next thing that I want to mention is, do you know like when that feeling when you get like no sleep and you wake up the next day and you're like instantly pissy? Like, has anyone been there before? I'm sure we all have. I try not to go there often because that's like the number one way to just be super upset and mad at life. But yeah, I'm going to just call out the obvious here is that mental and physical and emotional fatigue are really, really freaking real. And so if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not fueling your body correctly, if you're not drinking enough water, like if your basic fundamental needs, physical needs are just not met, this is a call to take care of your freaking self. Go get some movement, go get some sunlight, take a few minutes to just pause and just work through some of that fatigue that you're feeling, some of the emotions that you're feeling. Allow for yourself to feel. Like again, you are not wrong for being sad. We just talked about that. So allow for yourself to be sad for 5 minutes and work through those feelings and see what comes out of it. You're going to make yourself more fatigued by trying to hold it in and not allowing for yourself to express it or talk it out in any way, shape, or form. So what is it that you need to do right now, this week, this month, to take care of yourself? What are the 1 to 2 to 3 things that will allow for you to do that? And please remember that this is not an act of selfishness. I get it. I know that we feel like we have to have everything together. and always be perfect so that way we can always serve other people. Because if we were to do anything for ourselves, like, it just feels wrong, because we probably are overachievers and we probably have that sense of feeling of we love to help, but also like if we feel like it's our duty. If you feel like you're one of those people, I give you a high five, because I'm very much one of those people. But I have to go back and remind myself that even though I'm constantly in a serving mentality, the number one person that I have to serve day in and day out is myself. Because I will tell you what's going to happen is I'm going to give people the rest of me and never the best of me. And for the people that I love and I care about and the people that I work so hard for, all I want to do is give them the best of me. Granted, that's not always realistic. Some days, some weeks, some months are going to be better than others, especially considering the shitstorm. But I need for you that to sink in for you is, do you want to give people the best of you, or do you want to give people the rest of you? Do the people in your life actually deserve that? Well, it starts with you. It starts with taking care of yourself first. So what are those small things that you can get super dialed in on that are going to help you do just that? So then when you need to show up and you need to serve and you genuinely want to serve other people and be present in the moment with your girlfriend, with your boyfriend, with the different relationships that you have, you are there and you're not worried about the millions of other things that are blowing up in your life right now. I'm hoping that makes total sense. Okay. The next thing that I want to talk about is, we talk a lot about measure of success. At least I know in the last month we've talked about redefining your measure of success when it comes to different seasons of life, realizing that, for example, if you're an athlete and you get hurt, well, clearly you are no longer in the same season of life that you were before you got hurt. Things are not going to be the same. So to compare and have yourself measured off of the same exact success definition is just not going to work. You have to redefine it for each season of life. Sometimes, guys, it goes by the day. What is my measure of success for today? Well, this is another call to that, where I would hope and encourage for you to remove the metrics. Remove all of those things that you normally compare yourself up against to say, I have been successful, I did the thing. And instead, just focus on consistency. Focus on consistency of just merely showing up. Knowing that not every day is going to be perfect, knowing that you're going to show up with some days with 5% in the tank, and all you're able to give is that 5%. But might I remind you that if you give 5% of 5%, what is that? It's always 100%. And if you give 100% of whatever it is that you have in the tank every single day, then you are consistent. You are falling exactly in line with what consistency is. Consistency is not 100% full throttle every single day. That is what leads to mental and emotional and physical burnout that we just talked about. So we have to be a little bit more gracious and kind with ourselves and realize, yes, this is hard. Realistically, this is what I'm able to handle. This is what I'm able to accomplish. So therefore, this is what I'm going to do for today, for this week, and continue to check in with yourself. Remove the metrics and the success standards that you have of yourself that are unrealistic for this moment. I get it, overachievers and type A individuals. It's much easier said than done, but it's going to set you free if you do. So maybe that's the one thing that you need to take away from this podcast. Okay. And what I will also add to that as well too, is once you figure out, what it is that you want to stay consistent to, also make sure that it's in alignment with everything else. Is it in alignment with truly what's most important to you? Like, just because maybe you couldn't show up in the same way that you could show up yesterday doesn't mean that you have to necessarily maybe change your goals, unless obviously it was something that was a little bit more life altering in a stance, right? Maybe you do need to change your goals, but regardless, like, what's most important to you right now? Make sure that whatever it is that you're staying consistent to is in alignment to what it is that's most important to you, right? It's that simple, but sometimes really hard to understand. So this is also a great opportunity to do a very fun activity, which is called the time audit. Take a look at what's most important, right? Write it down on a piece of paper. And then I want you to see about where it is that you spent your time today, maybe within the last week. Then I want you to look at what you have going on for this week. Do you find alignment? If you don't, well, now it's time to, again, do a true audit and remove the things that are not serving you and that are not in alignment with what it is that's most important to you. I don't care whether or not you're going through a shitstorm or not. You should just do that always, because I truly believe that that's where a lot of the true joy and happiness comes from, is doing the things that actually matter to us and seeing progress on those things. So little side tangent there. But guys, that's it. right? The last thing that I really want to share with you is I want to ask you again this question that I believe I asked on the podcast last week. But what is the story that you want to tell at the end of this? Remember that the best views come after the hardest of climbs. We know that. We've lived that. And guess what? You've successfully made it through 100% of your hardest days. What were the stories that you were able to tell then? I have to assume, because we're human, that there was probably stories that you weren't as proud of, that you wish that you maybe could have changed or reacted to a little bit differently. But you learned something, right? So a positive came from that. But now you have the opportunity to tell a completely different story. It could be realistic, it could be optimistic, it could be all of the above, right? But I want you to think about, what is the story that I want to tell, not only for my sake, but for someone else's sake. I like to tell myself this sometimes, is when I feel like I'm struggling to show up for me and really just stay consistent and mentally in a good place of where I want to be 100% of the time. If I can't do it for me, can I do it for future me? Or can I do it for someone else that I genuinely really care about? I don't know which one of those really resonates for you, but I always say do it for her. Do it for the girl that was lying on the couch, lethargic, depressed, overweight, completely hating her life. Do it for her. I'll show up for that person every damn day, every time I put it into that perspective. Show up for the girl that wants to be standing on the podium and the elite race during Deca Strong World Championships this year, right? Do it for that girl. Whatever it is that motivates you, that inspires you, do it for her. Do it for him. What is the story that you want to tell? I'm hoping today, after listening to these few things, that it's encouraging you to tell an inspirational story, a story of perseverance, a story of resilience. I promise you that you can do this. Now it's time to put the bets back on you, help yourself get out of the gutter, and see just how strong it is that you could truly be in this time of resistance. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today. I truly hope that this was helpful in helping you take your first steps in getting your mind out of the gutter. If it was, be sure to rate and review the podcast, as well as share this with friends and family that absolutely need to hear this. And in the meantime, I had someone that came up to me in the gym today and was like, "Hey, I started listening to your podcast. It was awesome." If you listen to my podcast and you've never introduced yourself to me, I'm finding random people from many different gyms that have, please come up and say hi. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear about what you love about the podcast, how I can improve, but also just topics. I love being able to talk about things that will help you guys and give yourself a different perspective. So come say hi. I'm very friendly. I promise I don't bite. But anyways, you guys, until then, come say hello, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode. See you then.